This is time for another episode of Jesse's Collectible Showcase. I know I've been kind of stalling for a while on the quality of the videos and how I'm going to word everything and whatnot. But here are some of the books I have, actually most of the books I have. The wrestling related things I wasn't able to get out of storage. I do have all my wrestling magazines, which I'll be able to review in a later episode tonight. And so here we go. This is Thunderball by Ian Fleming. And if you don't know who Ian Fleming is or what the book Thunderball is, it is basically the James Bond book. Before James Bond became the famous movie adaptation we all know, it started off as a book. I got it for a Christmas present. This one, I'm not really sure where I got this from. This is Colonel Effingham's Raid. This was written by Barry Fleming, and it was written in 1943. This is actually a pretty old book. The spine is in good shape right there. The paper is pretty good too. There's a little bit of mold and stains right here, but that's alright. The Armchair Book of Baseball, written by John Thorne. I got this at a hospital I was staying at one point. There's some stuff written on it. This was happened before I got the book. This book was released in 1985, and it basically has, a bunch of stuff relating to baseball, like things about Joe DiMaggio, the Who's on First skit with Abbott and Costello, different poems and articles and stuff like that. It's a good book to read if you're a huge baseball fan. This one is about the Afrika Korps, which is a division that was run by the Nazis during World War II and led by Erwin Rommel. It has small words, but pictures are good. Hold on, I'll try and find a good pic really quick. Pictures are good. This book was written by Major K.J. Maxey, and it was released back in 1968. Well, this is the fifth printing. It was originally printed in 1968. This is a 1977 version of it, so it's still an old book. This one, it's badly dinged, but it's a cool book. It's called Dream Cars. It was written by Rob De La Box and Micro Dissette. It has all different sorts of antique cars that are cool, like Ferraris, Corvettes, Alfa Romeos. Hold on, I'm gonna try and find a cool Cadillac picture to show you, which is my favorite. I always thought the old 50s Cadillacs from 57 up until 77 were my favorite. This is the book adaptation of the Ken Burns documentary Baseball. It goes from it goes from the 1800s to baseball's beginnings up until the 1990s. This is a thing on Take Me Out to the Ball Game with all the original lyrics except including the main part. The main part is the one we all know. The original version had more lyrics than that. This one is another baseball book. This one's a small book. This one was published in 1999. It has some talks about all the different people that were inducted from the Baseball Hall of Fame that was around between, the 1800s and 1990s, much like the baseball book by Ken Burns. This one I haven't read yet. This one is Counter-Terrorism Weapons and Equipment, and it's basically what it talks about. This one is an autobiography by Gene Simmons, the singer of Kiss. Now, this is 1 out of 4 covers. All 4 covers make up the word and Kiss logo. This one is Great Battles of World War II, which cover some of the more infamous battles of the war between 1939, when Germany first invaded Poland, all the way up until when Russia invaded Berlin in 1945. This is Elvis for Dummies. I've read this book. It explains lots of different cool stuff about Elvis that even for the die-hard fan probably, wouldn't know about. So that's why I like that book. This one is Everything's Eventful, 14 Dark Tales by Stephen King. This one I haven't read yet. But this one is a cool book cover. As you can see, there's a bunch of blood and shit all over the kitchen. Or dining room, or whatever you want to call it. This one isn't a book, but it's so cool to have. This is an original tablature for Master of Puppets, the album by Metallica. This one is The Complete Elvis Encyclopedia. It's a newer book, but I didn't necessarily take care of it that much. This was written in 2008. It has 597 pages. Well, 598. And it's basically like an encyclopedia, A to Z, on every single person, place, event that Elvis has been to or associated with the King of Rock and Roll. This one is Mafia Wars by Leslie Walter. I got it simply because, Mafia Wars. I like books about the mob and stuff like that, but I haven't read it yet. This was made in... Nope, doesn't say, really. My guess is that, 90s or 2000s. This one is A People's History of the United States, Part 2. I haven't read this book yet, but I got it from a teacher of mine who told me that it would be a good book to have. And it is Volume 2, The Civil War to the Present, by Howard Zinn. So, Howard Zinn is a pretty controversial writer. This one is Spandau Phoenix by Greg Iles. I haven't read this book yet, but I think it comes with a bookmark or something. Looks like a bookmark. This was released in 1993. It looks like the same company that released the Mafia Wars book. This one is a book. This one is The New Messiah Missile. I think that's how you pronounce it. But this is an old book. I guess it is about the Bible. This is from 1950. And it does have some biblical texture in here. Like a picture of the crucifix right there. This one is Red Army by Ralph Peters. Judging from the fact that it says Red Army, talk about Soviet Union and whatnot. Which I think I should actually start reading these damn books. I don't really like fiction much. This was released in 1989. This one is the Wartime Journals of Charles A. Lindbergh, of a daily account of what he went through during World War II. The book was released in 1970. This came from personal diaries that he had. This one is The Story of World War II by Donald L. Miller, which I think that's going to be the book I start reading and review next. This one, it is Airplanes of the World. This one I got from my great-grandpa when he died. Actually, no, I got this from my dad. It is Airplanes of the World from 1490 to 1954. This book was released in 54. It is surprisingly in good condition. The paper is starting, to brown. It looks like it's been burned or something. This book, it is The Art of War by Sun Tzu, which I've planned on reading it for years, but haven't found my way around it. This one, it is The Beatles' Unseen Archives. This actually was rescued from a fire, I know, because my mom's friend's house burnt down a few years ago, and this is one of the things that survived, and he gave it to me because he knows that the Beatles are one of my favorite bands. This one is a small mini book about Ted Williams, who was a famous baseball player for the Boston Red Sox from the 40s on until the 60s, and that's when he became a manager. And this one is the first book of the series of Unfortunate Events, which I haven't read. I saw the movie once, and it just basically made me not like the whole franchise at all. I thought it was just absolutely, weird, especially, for an 8-year-old watching it. And that's it. Thanks, and have a good day. Remember what I said, about liking and subscribing and whatnot. And if you have any suggestions on books I might read, or anything that you want me to review, do that.